Ethiopia, the land that refused to be colonized. A nation of kings, warriors, and visionaries. But its enemies couldn't accept that. So, when swords and guns failed, they turned to lies. They called Menelik greedy, Tawadros cruel, Haile Selassie ignorant. They said Ethiopia was backward, its people weak. But history has a funny way of silencing lies. Tonight, we expose the enemy narratives that failed and reveal the truth of Ethiopia's unbreakable spirit. Boom of drums. Title appears. Lies they told about Ethiopia. 1. The greedy emperor, Menelik II. Lie number 1. Emperor Menelik II was nothing more than a greedy king. European papers joked that he sent men to war just to fill his treasure chest. One cartoon even showed him swimming in gold like some royal Scrooge McDuck. But here's the truth. Menelik was playing chess while his enemies were playing checkers. He knew the storm of colonialism was swallowing Africa. Gold wasn't for parties. It was for rifles, cannons, and the roads that would carry his army to meet invaders head-on. And when the storm finally hit at Adwa in 1896, Menelik's army didn't march for coins. They marched for freedom. And they won, delivering a slap so loud it echoed through every colonized nation in Africa. Greedy? Please. Menelik's true treasure was Ethiopia's independence, still shining today. 2. The ruthless conqueror, Tawadros II. Next lie. Emperor Tawadros II was a monster. British accounts described him as cruel, bloodthirsty, burning villages just for fun. To them, he was the boogeyman of Ethiopia. But take a closer look. Tawadros was a visionary, obsessed with unity in a land torn by rival lords. Yes, he punished rebels harshly. Yes, he ruled with fire. But ask yourself, what does it take to unite a fractured land surrounded by hungry empires? He even built his own supercannon, Sebastopol, by hand, with Ethiopian blacksmiths, not foreign factories. That's not madness. That's genius under pressure. And when the British came with tens of thousands of troops, Tawadros chose death by his own pistol rather than captivity. Cruel tyrant? No, that was the pride of a man who refused chains. 3. The illiterate king, Haile Selassie I. Lie number 3. Haile Selassie was a backward, illiterate king. Colonial critics mocked him, saying he couldn't understand the modern world. Funny, because the so-called illiterate king spoke 3 languages, studied law and governance, and rewrote Ethiopia's future. He modernized the army, expanded education, and introduced sweeping reforms. And when he stood at the League of Nations in 1936, warning the world about fascism, he was the first African voice heard on the global stage. The world laughed, then watched World War II prove him right. If that's ignorance, then maybe the world could have used a bit more of it. 4. The isolated nation, Ethiopia as a backward land. Another classic lie. Ethiopia was isolated, backward, forgotten by history. Travelers called it the land time forgot. But the evidence laughs at them. The Aksumite Empire traded with Rome, Persia, and India. Ethiopian monks debated in Jerusalem. The rock-hewn churches of Lalibela stunned visitors long before Europe's cathedrals were built. Backward, Ethiopia was busy building monuments out of living rock, while Europe was still crawling out of the Dark Ages. If that's backward, sign me up. 5. The weak people, the myth of Ethiopian defeat. And the final lie, Ethiopians were weak, destined to collapse before European might. Italian propaganda boasted Ethiopia would be conquered in weeks. But at Adwa, in a battle that changed world history, Ethiopians, farmers, priests, women carrying supplies, united as one. They crushed Italy's colonial army and sent Europe reeling. The weak people had just humbled an empire. The message was clear. Ethiopia was not only uncolonized, it was unconquerable. So there you have it, the lies, the spin, the propaganda. Menelik the greedy? False. Tawadros the monster? False. Haile Selassie the illiterate? False. Ethiopia the isolated? False. Ethiopians the weak? History laughs. Enemies wrote with ink. Ethiopia answered with steel, stone, and spirit. And in the end, only one story survived. The story of a nation too proud to kneel. This is not just Ethiopia's story, it's Africa's story. A reminder that no matter how loud the lie, truth always speaks louder. And Ethiopia's truth? It's written in the mountains, the churches, and the unbroken spirit of her people. Music swells, fade out. Title reappears. Lies they told about Ethiopia, the enemy narratives that failed.